everyone, and welcome to this session on the cumulative frequency curve. In this session, we're going to discuss the cumulative frequency curve and its properties, how we obtain cumulative frequency, and the points used to plot the graph. This is my cumulative frequency curve. This is what it will resemble. My cumulative frequency curve is usually what is called an S-shaped graph. So as you can see, although it's looking a little flat, the S shape is a general sort of trend. All right. Now, when it comes to the cumulative frequency curve, it has its applications. All right. So what would I use a cumulative frequency curve for? Well, I can use it to find my median. That's one thing. But I can also use it for probabilities. If anybody want to tell me what their initial thought is?
Well, I think about frequencies, scores, and shapes.
Okay, so you think about frequencies, scores, and shapes. Anybody here has ever heard the word cumulative before? No. Okay. So here's what cumulative means. Cumulative just simply means it's adding up from previous things. It's just continuing. It takes from what is before and adds it to the present and continues going forward like that. I don't know if you all have ever heard of this. They used to keep track of student records on a cumulative card. So you have a cumulative record for students from primary school into secondary school, and that is like what you'll have all the way up. That cumulative card keeps track of all your activities in school, what you would have been doing academically, and even what you've been doing non-academically. So cumulative frequency is just going to be taking frequencies and adding them up. So we're taking previous frequencies and we're going to be adding it to present frequencies, and we'll continue that trend. We're going to look at this one first because this one has a cumulative frequency column already. But cumulative frequency, like I was saying, is just simply adding up previous frequencies. So when I have my frequency distribution over here, so I have scores and then I have frequency and then I have cumulative frequency. Cumulative frequency, like I was saying, is going to add up those previous frequencies. So before my first class interval, there was no frequency at all. So that's why my first cumulative frequency will always be the frequency of my first class interval. From there, like I said, it's going to be adding up. Cumulative frequency is going to take the previous frequency and add it to my present frequency. So when I say previous frequency, my previous cumulative frequency is 5. When I move to my next class interval, my current frequency in this class interval is 18. So if I want to get my current cumulative frequency, I'm going to add 5 and 18. So this will give me 23. So in this cumulative frequency cell, I will put 23. So for the time being, here's what I want you all to do. Copy down this table, and I want you all to work out all the cumulative frequencies. So in the meantime, like I was just pointing out to people, class interval number 1, that frequency is going to be your very first cumulative frequency. And your final cumulative frequency must always be your total frequency. So if they told you 100 students sat the exam, your final cumulative frequency in your last class interval, this one should be 100. If they told you 120, then your final cumulative frequency should be 120. What do we have in the cumulative frequency section? So the second cell we said would be 23. What would be the third cumulative frequency?
46.
So somebody said 46. And somebody said something else. Anybody else? What was the other answer somebody said?
Miss, I said 28.
All right, why you get 28 for cumulative frequency?
Okay, no, I think I had 5 to each one of them.
The 5, all right. Okay, don't worry. Does happen sometimes, but just remember, take your previous cumulative frequency and add it to your current class interval frequency. So the 5, we don't need to worry about the 5 again, since we already added it to the 18 and got 23. So our next cumulative frequency will become 23 plus the 23 in the third class interval. So that's how we're going to get the 46. Okay, Nice. So we had 5, 23, then 46. Frequency will be 46 plus 22, which will give me
68.
nice 68. And the very, very last empty cell that we have, 68 plus 21 will give me
89.
89. And then final cumulative frequency, which is 100. 89 plus 11, and we get 100. If we were working on a problem, you had the final cumulative frequency, and you somehow or the other did not get 100 on this final cell, then you will go and double check to make sure that you did the addition for the rest properly. So once you can correctly complete this frequency distribution's cumulative frequency column, 2 marks. If you can't do a scale properly, your histogram gonna be off, and now even your cumulative frequency curve. So this is why it was so important for people to learn how to do scales. When we do the cumulative frequency curve, creating your cumulative frequency curve comes from plotting points. Plotting points means creating your plot area, and plot area needs to have an accurate scale depending on the data that you want to represent. So in this particular example, they told us specifically to use a scale of 2 centimeters to represent a score of 5 on the horizontal axis. The next thing they said is that our vertical axis is going to use 2 centimeters to represent 10 students. Notice here, what did they say? They say to start your horizontal scale at 20, because I was just about to ask you all, should we start the x-axis from 0 and then go 5, 10, 15, or should we use a different scale? And if you all can remember me talking about that with the histogram, when our data starts a little later down, we can use a broken scale. So in this particular question, they want you to use a broken scale. Using a broken scale on the horizontal axis, we will start labeling our data, our marks on our x-axis, from 20. Remember how to do your scales properly. Once you remember how to do your scales properly, you'll be able to create your axes accurately, and then plotting your graph will be just like you used to plot coordinates when you was in Form 1 and Form 2 and Form 3. Once you are able to plot points, you'll create your curve, and your curve will look like this little fancy S-shaped thing. It might not look so much like an S. Sometimes it might look a little flatter at the top. Sometimes the center might look more straight. Just be mindful. That's what a cumulative frequency does when it's ready. Depending on what your data looks like, your S curve looks a little more straight than S-like at times. So don't be too alarmed. If, however, on the other hand, you get something completely abnormal, like it doesn't look like anywhere at all could possibly form an S, recheck your points and how you plotted them. What I do want to do is this, all right? When you have to create your frequency curve, I want you all to know that your ordered pairs, so when I say ordered pairs, I'm talking about the points that you're going to use to create your curve, the ones that you're going to plot. Those ordered pairs are as follows. So you're going to be creating the ordered pairs by pairing up your upper class boundary with the class interval's cumulative frequency. So for example, anybody could tell me what is the upper class boundary for this 21 to 25 class interval?
5.5.
So I hear 25.5. Everybody agrees with 25.5? If you agree with 25.5, then very good. If you don't agree with 25.5, maybe go recheck your math. Upper class boundary is your upper class limit plus 0.5. Upper class boundary for first class interval, 25.5. Our cumulative frequency for first class interval is 5. So if I want to create the ordered pair for my very first point that I'm going to create my cumulative frequency with, I'm going to be creating the point 25.5, comma 5. Okay, I just said the comma because there's a lot of fives. So 25.5, 5 is my first ordered pair and the very first point that I will plot when I create my cumulative frequency curve. Like I was saying, the skills necessary there, proper scaling, knowing how to plot points, and obviously from there, just knowing how to draw a graph. Wow. Okay, people. Well, this is all for today. Tune in next week. Same time, same place, same link.